Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz confirmed today that he is investigating whether former FBI investigator Peter Strzok's anti-Trump bias launched the Trump campaign Russia collusion investigation. During a joint hearing before the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees, the IG testified that his office was reviewing Strzok's anti-Trump text messages, whether it launched the Russia investigation. Michael Horowitz said it clearly shows a biased state of mind, referring to text messages written as the FBI probe of Hillary Clinton's private email use was wrapping up and the Russia probe was getting underway. In last week's IG report on the Clinton email case, Strzok responded to his lover/FBI lawyer, Lisa Page, "We'll stop it," when his colleague and lover, Lisa Page, sought assurances that Trump would not become president. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte questioned Horowitz on whether that apparent bias influenced the initiation of the investigation into Russia interference in the 2016 campaign and potential collusion with Trump's team. And this is what Horowitz said about this. That's a matter we've got under review and are looking at right now. Hi, I'm Michael Wan, your host for Michael Wan's Op-Ed Live, and this is Peter Choi, who is running for California 24th District State Senate seat. Our show Op-Ed Live is not about left or right, it's about finding out what's right or wrong. So first, we would like to congratulate you for making it to the runoff, Peter. Can you talk about your campaign a little bit?
Well, first, thank you, Michael. Glad to be here. I enjoyed my last time. Thank you. But actually, before we talk about my election, if I may we quickly talk about an important election that's happening today?
Yeah, that's even more important than the IG report, right?
That's right.
Okay.
I think, as the late, great Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local.
Yes.
And you don't get more local than the local neighborhood council. It's the front lines of our government. Now,
Tip O'Neill being the former House Speaker during the Reagan administration.
That's correct.
Just wanted to let
Thank you. And so, since this is, I believe, going out live today, it's Tuesday, June 19th. So today, what's happening is, just to sum it up very quickly, Los Angeles has a neighborhood council system. I'm very familiar with it because when they started the system back in the early 2000s, I ran for the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council. I was a founding board member, served 2 terms. It's the front line. It's where all the residents and stakeholders of a neighborhood get to really input on what's happening with the city in terms of city government. Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council has represented the Koreatown neighborhood. From Western and Vermont, Melrose to 11th Street. And what's happened is, out of the blue, there was a petition to create a Bangladesh Neighborhood Council, which should effectively cut off the top half of the Koreatown Neighborhood Council. It kind of came out of nowhere. There wasn't due process, not a lot of transparency. And so they want to subdivide the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council into half. The election for this is today. It's today, starting at 2 o'clock this afternoon to 8 o'clock. And so if you support preserving the Koreatown Neighborhood Council, which has done a very good job representing the stakeholders and residents of Koreatown, then it's important for you to show up. So if you catch this today from 2 p.m. to 8 o'clock, you can go to one of 2 locations, Harvard Elementary School at 330 Harvard Boulevard, or Founders Church of Religious Science, 3281 West 6th Street. Now, if you're a resident of Koreatown in the district, then you just need to bring your driver's ID. But if you're not a resident, but you live or you work here, then you can bring a letter from a local community organization saying that you, Peter Choi, are active in this community, and bring your driver's license and that letter. But the best way to show up if you're not sure is to come as a stakeholder and bring your driver's license and 2 receipts. Could be Starbucks, could be a donut shop, could be lunch. 2 receipts from this area, From this district, from the Koreatown district. So this is the map. And
pretty much if Bangladeshis has their way, Koreatown can be cut off to half, right? That's what you're pretty much saying, right?
And the bigger picture, of course, is, to me, it's the latest insult and removal of voice from the Koreatown community. As the temporary shelter issue has shown and continues to show, to me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but in this I see an action by perhaps Council President Herb Weston's office, perhaps other entities within the city government who are trying to minimize the growing voice of the Koreatown community.
That's what I see it.
I see it that way. But absent proof, again, I don't want to be...
we don't have like concrete proof.
But the important thing is, again, 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock, you can stop after you get off work, just swing by and vote. And for more information, go to keepkoreatown.org. And you'll get all this information. So thank you, Michael, for that time.
Yeah, so can you name the addresses again? There are 2 places, right?
Again,
Harvard Elementary School and Founders Church.
Tuesday, June 19th, today, this afternoon, 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Harvard Elementary School at 330 Harvard Boulevard, LA 90004. Or Founders Church of Religious Science, 3281 West 6th Street, LA 90020. Bring your ID, driver's license, plus 2 receipts or proof of residency. And again, you can go to keepkoreatown.org to get this information in case you don't have a pen on you right now.
That's great. That's great. I think this is great.
Thank you, Michael.
We need to all go out and vote, because if we don't vote, we're pretty much losing our voice. So we need to vote as much as possible whenever we possibly can, right?
And if you care about things like location of a temporary homeless shelter, about more green space, park space, about more social services for senior residents in Koreatown, things like that, well, the neighborhood council is a very effective way to cut through all the red tape and get your message to City Hall. That's the importance of the neighborhood council system. It's people like you and me, average people who are representing the community. It's very much ground level activism on issues that matter to people who live and work in Koreatown.
And I think it absolutely doesn't make sense to make a Bangladesh, what do they want to call it? Little Bangladesh or something like that, right?
That's right.
I don't think it makes sense, because even number-wise, they're like less than 5,000. That's what I heard. And also, they don't have any single stores. Have you ever seen? I've never seen an Bangladesh store or whatever it is, or a grocery store. I've never seen any.
My understanding is that this was initiated by a religious temple or church that's popular with the Bangladeshis who come from around.
Muslims, right?
Yeah, to come in. There are, I think, some Bangladeshi American businesses, but I understand what happened was when they did the outreach for this, they didn't interview or notify any of the Korean American businesses that were in this area. You know, it was very targeted. So the most important thing is exercise your right to vote. Show up this afternoon.
Turnout is very important. Yes. So Peter, let's go to the IG report. What is your takeaway?
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, let's bring it back to me.
Peter,
no, in all seriousness.
558 page or something like that. So I'm pretty sure that you read all of it because you went to Harvard Law School. So I'm pretty sure that you read that in one setting, right?
I know you jest, because no one, to my knowledge so far, except perhaps some wonks in the government, have read all 500 pages.
Okay.
You know, that's where we are.
I'll be honest, I didn't read the entire bit, but I did start it though. So.
I'm sorry, I thought we were returning to the state senate campaign.
Really quickly. About your state senate
That's
campaign.
why I joked and said bring it back to me as a joke, but I didn't realize we're jumping.
Let's talk about, because Peter Choi did make it to the runoff, so you're facing against a union person named Maria Durazo, right?
And
she's
also,
famous among the union.
And also, she's also yes, I'm running against the Democratic establishment.
That was my bad.
Against a candidate anointed and appointed by the Democratic establishment. She's the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. To Democrats, I will say, the Democratic National Committee, this was the committee that lost a surefire election and gave us our current president. That's what the DNC did. But now it's the general election. We're in the final 2. California has a top 2 primary. We have 2 Democrats running. You have one who has been very much a part of the Democratic establishment.
She's the ultimate establishment, I would say. One of the labor union. Right?
Her website doesn't have any of the issues on it. My website has my positions very clear. I am the only candidate who is independent of the Democratic establishment, of the current system, independent of the status quo. And so I am running to be an independent voice that I think can break through a lot of the logjam and really come to solutions on a lot of the problems that are facing the Senate district.
And so I would like to tell our viewers, anybody who knows Peter Choi knows that he is very anti-establishment. I can assure you that, right?
Right. Especially when the establishment is not, when I say I'm anti-establishment, I will own that if it means that the establishment is speaking for big money interests, for big oil and big polluters, and not for the little people.
So you would refuse
that to me is what it is.
Donor money?
Yeah, I'm a corporate-free candidate. Okay. Look, I think one of the big issues, if not the biggest issue in this campaign, is health care for all Californians. Single-payer health care, there's a Senate Bill 562, that's stuck in committee. My supporters and I
voted against it, right?
Well, he stuck it in committee, and the thing is that none of the Democratic establishment legislators have spoken up about it. Right. They just say, oh, we can't do anything. And so when it comes to that, I will say that I'm the only candidate in this two-person race for this district that has not taken money from medical companies. And that just shows you, because if you take money from medical companies and then you're elected, then you have to answer to that money. And so for those voters who care about single-payer health care for all Californians, just know that in this two-person race, I'm the only candidate that has not taken any money from corporations or from medical companies, because I think it's really important for me to be elected as an independent so I can go in and be that independent voice.
Sure. So, yeah, I would like all of our viewers to go out and vote. Probably it would start from October.
Right. The election is not till November. It's a long 4 months. So we're getting ready for the general campaign, but this is now an election where it's not just Democrats in the primary, but also Republicans, independents, and of course libertarians and Greens and everybody. So this is really a race to see who's going to represent everyone. I am myself a member of not one but two unions, so there's no daylight between my opponent and me in terms of our support for unions. But I will say, as the president of a regional chamber of commerce, as a small business owner myself, I'm running to represent everyone that works for a living, not just union members. Small business owners, mom and pop restaurants, professionals, tech entrepreneurs, and the many, many who are currently working in the new sharing economy, driving Lyft and Uber, renting an Airbnb, and so on. These are people who would really benefit from single-payer health care. These are people who don't have those protections, and I'm running to represent everybody who works for a living. My platform is job creation and bringing everybody up.
Yeah, so good luck on your campaign, and we would like to certainly see a Korean American elected official and also as an Asian American elected official. We need more of that too. So
well, certainly I think it's about time that the 24th Senate District that includes the majority of Koreatown, the largest community of Koreans outside of Seoul, Korea, is represented by a Korean American. It's a great chance to make history.
Okay, so let's go back to the IG report.
Okay.
So what is your takeaway on that? I know that you, none of us read the entire 500+ page, but you certainly read and heard from the news. What is your takeaway?
Well, as you noted just a few minutes ago, they're currently having hearings as we speak.
Yeah.
So
on the congressional side, yeah.
So hopefully, under the questioning, there'll be more black and white data for us to talk about. It's a 500-page report.
It is.
I will say it did not. I don't agree with what the president said about the report. That he said it exonerated him, that it proved that there was no collusion. That was not the intent of the report.
Okay, I would say this. When that day, when Michael Horowitz announced, I mean, he revealed it on last Thursday, right? And Trump came out the day after morning, and he had an interview with Fox and Friends, and he said that it exonerated him. At that moment, I would say Trump was wrong, okay? I'll give you that. But today, it might be true. Because today,
might be true does not make it true.
Yeah, that's true. But
let me just say this, Michael.
But let me.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I know you're going to say that.
I'll give you your time.
In my book, you're either pregnant or you're not pregnant.
As a lawyer, right?
No.
As a lawyer?
In life.
Okay.
In life, on issues, you're either pregnant or you're not pregnant.
Yeah, so I think it is.
And so to say you might be pregnant means you're not pregnant. If I say I might be pregnant. I might be, but I'm still not pregnant.
Okay, I'll tell you.
So when Trump says, when you say he was wrong on the morning after, but he might be right now, it means he's still wrong.
Okay, I will tell you this. I think there might be very few people who knows more about the Russia scandal than me, because I really read all kinds of articles. I went through all the documents, and I would say this: Trump has ground. I would say this, okay? So it's not confirmed. I would say that, okay? But I think he has. There are so many circumstantial evidence, and today, look at this: the IG. Michael Horowitz was not appointed by Trump. He was appointed by Obama. So we don't need to say that he's a political hack. So IG confirms he is reviewing whether Strzok's anti-Trump bias impacted launch of Russia probe. Don't you think this is kind of big?
First of all, I think it's interesting that you say it's more credible because Horowitz was appointed by Obama.
No, I mean,
that's your way of saying that there's no partisan point of view there? So then if you look at Mueller and Comey, who are all Republicans, if you look at Rod Rosenstein, who was appointed by...
But you do agree that there were many anti-Trumpers. Come on, he's not... Trump wasn't considered like a Republican. Many Republicans hated him. I know a lot of Republicans who live in Orange County, and they all hated him.
Well, they're loving him now.
They're loving him now because he's keeping his promises.
You know, they're not stepping up and challenging him.
We're losing track. You know, when you and I talk, we tend to lose track. Let's go back to the main point. So, what do you think about his statement? This is not my statement.
I'm just addressing your point, saying that he was appointed by Obama.
I wanted to let our viewers know, because they don't know whether Trump appointed him or Bush appointed him. Just putting it out there.
But what is the relevance of that? What is the relevance of saying that?
So it doesn't matter who appointed him. Let's go from there. Okay?
Well, no, but you're saying that it does because you say that. I'm just saying, to be fair, that you have, on the other hand, the Mueller investigation. You know, you have Comey. These are all Republicans.
The reason why I said that is because there are many people who would say, oh, the Inspector General, he might have been appointed by Trump, so he's going to have findings that are more advantage Trump than Clinton. So I wanted to let our viewers know that it's not like that. And it seems like he's a very reputable guy. Many people on the Democratic side, the Republican side, they seem to say that he is a fair person. But probably he might not be. So let's move on from that point. That is not the main.
I know it's not.
Okay, so what do you think about it? When he said, look at this. The most infamous text that came out, Strzok said he's going to stop Trump becoming president. We'll stop it, you know, because when he was having these text exchanges between him and Lisa Page was worried that, hey, he's not going to become president, right? She asked him that, and then he replied, no, we'll stop it. What does that mean, Pete?
Okay, well, first of all, let me just put this in context again. 500 pages, and you're talking about 7 sentences.
Yeah, but it's a huge sentence. I mean, 7 words. It's huge.
That's how
it's huge.
Let's talk about how huge. But first, for the record, let's just state that out of 500 pages, the talking point has been 7 sentences. All right. So let's talk about those 7 sentences.
Let's talk about it.
You have 2 FBI agents who were having an affair.
Pete, are they good agents?
I don't know if they're good or bad. I respect all FBI agents.
All right, okay.
You know, unlike our president, who is constantly denigrating and criticizing his own Justice Department, I respect all FBI agents.
Because the Justice Department is so corrupt. And the FBI is so corrupt. And
it's his Justice Department.
Peter Strzok, we're talking about a lead investigator.
Michael, it's his Justice Department.
Yeah, so you know what? I think Trump...
It's his Attorney General.
I don't agree with everything what Trump did. One of the things that I didn't like was him appointing Jeff Sessions, who is, in my opinion, I don't know what he's doing. He's pretty much a paper AG.
Well, he's...
You know, the Rod Rosenstein,
no,
he's taking care of everything. You know,
I'll tell you what Sessions is doing. He's doing anything on this racially motivated immigration bias enactment they're doing, the locking, separation of children and parents.
Peter, let's stay on...
No, you're saying you wonder what Sessions is doing? That's what he's doing.
Let's stay on subject. We can talk about immigration next time around. We talked about it all the time. I'm kind of tired of that, topic. Let's talk about this one.
You can't be tired of what's happening right now. Because immigration is one thing, but separating children from their parents.
Come on, you have to focus on it.
It's not a red herring. It's a horrible
let's focus on the IG report.
Crime against humanity there.
We're not talking about the border issue right
But let's go back. You're talking about the Justice Department as though they're crooked and against him.
I do think so.
Let's just read. This is the President's Justice Department. He's the commander-in-chief. He appointed Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Yeah, he did.
He appointed the current FBI director, Christopher Wray. These are his people. This is his Justice Department. And yet he is attacking the Justice Department as though they're his enemy. Why? Because they're thoroughly and effectively investigating Russian influence on the American election and whether the Russian entities and others had collusion with the Trump campaign, because clearly they favored Donald Trump to be president, and this has proven out. Why? Because with Trump as president, he has never said one bad word about Putin, about Russians, or I should say about Kim Jong-un or other dictators. And yet he has
criticized Kim Jong-un last year, remember?
No, not lately. Lately, he's his best friend. And you know,
hey, Peter,
but I'm just saying, you have a president who is criticizing our allies, criticizing Germany and Canada. Canada, Michael. What has Canada ever done except been our best friend and younger brother, as it were? Criticizing our allies, praising Kim Jong-un, you know, but we'll come back to your issue, the IG report. This is what we're talking about, right? And I'm just saying that you have two FBI agents. They were having an affair. This was their private conversation in between. And
but they used the FBI phone. That's why this was all revealed.
Well, of course,
if they used their private phones, do you know why they didn't use their private phone? Because they didn't want to get caught by their spouses. So just wanted to have it out there. It was in the IG report.
Of course.
Not,
But that's not the issue, you know. So what happens is they're both mortified by the idea that this reality TV host could become president of the United States of America, as was the majority of the country and an increasing number of people who are horrified.
Americans, really?
At the reality TV show that is our current state of government right now. Because let's face it, that's how he operates as a TV show host. He's always teasing the next episode. What's coming up? Stay tuned. But to these two people, all they said—
You're a Hollywood person, so you should like that. You know, you're from
I don't. I like it in entertainment. I expect a different standard in government.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I think we all do. You have two people who are having an affair, and they're chatting with each other, just like you and I would. So let's just pretend that both of us were
out in the open.
against a candidate, and you said, oh my gosh, we can't have this person be elected. I go, we're not. We're going to stop it. Meaning, we're going to be active, we're going to vote, we're going to march, we're going to canvass, we're going to do whatever you do in an election to stop a candidate. It doesn't mean— and there's no evidence to say that they were doing anything behind the scenes in a deep state drawer of the FBI to undermine this election. You know, yeah, we'll stop it. It's just like me telling my wife, don't worry, honey, you know, we're going to get Hillary Clinton elected. We're going to stop this reality buffoon. That doesn't mean that I'm going to do anything criminal. It just means, don't worry, we're going to stop this guy from being elected. Now, what's important, though, when this all came to light, both of them dismissed from the investigation. Mueller dismissed him.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Dismissed.
Are you finished? Because I didn't want to intrude. Because I know that you really care about when you talk, so I was listening.
Well, there you
go. Okay.
Well, thank you.
So I did not want to intrude because last time around you complained about it. So
I understand.
I'm holding back.
It's a ping pong game. I knock the ball to you.
Is it my turn now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. I'll go off. So what you're mentioning is it doesn't really amount to much. When Robert Mueller reassigned them to HR. You know, the HR department, Peter Strzok, because after these text messages was revealed by Michael Horowitz, IG informed Robert Mueller, hey, this is problematic, so he let go of that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the FBI, when this wasn't the Mueller investigation, this was the FBI investigation. There are two investigations regarding the Russia campaign.
That's right.
Right? First, it wasn't initiated by the special counsel, it was initiated by the FBI. And then after almost a year, special counsel continued that investigation. So that I'm just talking about the timeline. And look at this. House Judiciary, this is not me saying it, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte, he asked Horowitz whether that apparent bias influenced the initiation of the investigation into Russia interference in the 2016 campaign and potential collusion with Trump's team. I told you, you know, I read numerous articles from as much documents as I can possibly get my hand on. I read a lot. And it seems like the whole thing was fabricated. In my opinion, the Hillary Clinton and the DNC campaign, they've paid $13 million for an opposition research firm, and they somehow got this information from Russians. So if there's a Russia collusion, in my opinion, it's from the Democratic sides. But that's
But
for
that
another,
whole presentation,
that's for another
Michael,
topic.
is not correct.
Okay, this is what Horowitz said. That's a matter we've got under review and are looking at right now. This is the biggest thing today that came out. So that's why I put the title, you know, this Russia probe might have been initiated because of Peter Strzok, because he hated Trump so much And he said he will stop it. Not just that, there are so many other disgusting things that he said. He said anybody who supports Trump, they're stupid, they're poor, low educated, and all that kind of thing. The hatred between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, it was just insane level. To me, it's ridiculous. If you were a prosecutor, you wouldn't prosecute these kind of people who does this?
First of all,
I mean, that was
what
a
you
rhetorical
call...
question. I'm not saying, okay? I knew that once I give you the chance. Okay, hold on for just a second.
All right.
All right, so here, this is what Trey Gowdy, you know Trey Gowdy, right?
Yes.
The House Oversight Committee chairman. The exchange came minutes after House, and he's a person who would defend FBI almost in every single interviews or any time. I have never seen Trey Gowdy criticize the FBI. Whenever somebody tries to criticize FBI, he really stands up. He even stood up against Donald Trump when Trump criticized about the FBI having a spy on his campaign. He defended the FBI. I don't think the FBI did anything wrong.
Same Trey Gowdy that spent hours and hours on Benghazi. Remember Benghazi?
I do remember that.
Hours and hours
Peter,
and hours
can I
and
continue?
nothing.
Can I continue?
Okay, I just remembering who Trey Gowdy was here.
Yeah, and Benghazi was a bad thing. But anyway, that is a completely different topic. We're going to talk 30 minutes on that if we move to Benghazi, okay? I don't want to go there. So the exchange came minutes after House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy. He also outlined the curious timing of a string of texts between Strzok and Page, just as the Russia probe, which Strzok was involved in, was beginning. So look at this timeline. I really want our viewers and you to listen about this. Beginning July 5th, 2016, that was when Comey recommended no criminal charges against Hillary Clinton. You remember that, right? When he came out on TV and he said that, no charges, right? But July...
Do you think that influenced voters?
July 28th of 2016, when the FBI initiated a counterintelligence investigation into the Russia issue. 3 weeks after Clinton is exonerated by Comey, Strzok is leading the investigation into Russia. So this dude is a Hillary supporter, and some of the FBI agents said, I'm with her. This is this crazy level. I'm with her means, what do you think he's supporting? Trump? I don't think so. Hillary, right? If you're saying I'm with her. So that was one of the text messages that came out, and Strzok is leading the investigation into Russia and coordination with the Trump campaign 3 weeks after the Clinton case is over. Isn't this problematic, Pete?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll stop here.
Well, let's review what you presented here. First of all, James Comey, first of all, let's say this. You go to this statement. That's a matter we've got under review and are looking at right now.
So you're saying that it should be reviewed, right?
No, all he's saying is anything that comes up, it's our obligation at the FBI and the Justice Department to look at it. That's what he's saying. We're looking at it. He doesn't say that there's anything there. He's just saying, yes, we're looking at it. Right? Now, what
a year ago, people didn't even think.
No, what that means, though, is that when the FBI or the Department of Justice, any entity there, gets a lead on saying, we think there's some problem that you should look at, don't you agree the FBI should look at it?
Yeah. I don't think the FBI...
Just to confirm whether it's yes or no, or whether it's true or not, any lead they get. So when they got...
The General Office should look at it, yeah, but not
and
the
so
FBI, yeah. But anyway, go
what
ahead,
is not true is that this Strzok email situation was what, precipitated and led to the FBI investigation of Russian
at least give a chance that there
involvement in this election?
So can you at least concede that there is a chance that he might have been involved and started the whole Russia collusion nonsense?
No.
Is there a chance? Is there a chance? Look at this. Peter.
No.
Okay.
How can you?
Can I just add this sentence and you go on? Go ahead. Page texted Strzok, who was leading the FBI's Russia investigation, telling him that he was meant to protect the country from that menace. You don't think this is problematic?
These are two lovers having a personal conversation.
Can an FBI agent
Let me ask you this.
He's a lead investigator, not just a rank and file bottom agent. He's not just a regular agent. We're talking about, hey, FBI agents, we should be proud. Of course I'm proud of the FBI agents. They're patriotic.
First of all,
I'm talking about the rank and file.
Michael, these texts that you're talking about, are these official texts or are these conversations between two lovers?
But they used an FBI,
Which are they?
FBI phone, so it becomes official. So
yes.
Do you know they tried to delete all this?
Do you know that Donald Trump is still using his personal cell phone?
Yeah, I do know that. He twitters all the time.
Do you think that's safe?
You're going to another
No, I'm
route,
asking you.
know?
Just putting that out on the table, just so you know, because he was all about
I like
Hillary's.
it, by the way. I like a transparent president. But anyway, let's go back to
Yeah,
this.
but your cell phone's transparent enough
don't
that people
think
can
this
hack
is-
into your cell phone
You
and
don't-
hear everything he's saying.
So Lisa Page telling Peter Strzok, who is
But
the
my
lead
question to you,
investigator-
Michael, was: do you think that this was official communication? Regardless of the fact that we're using official devices rather than personal cell phones or personal laptops, the question is, do you think that this communication is actual government policy, or is it two
Okay,
lovers
I would say
talking to
this.
each other?
I would say this: if they didn't talk about these two most important cases in modern history, I would say the Hillary email scandal and also the Trump Russia collusion investigation. Those were the two biggest investigation. And if they talked about, hey, let's watch a movie this Friday or something like that, yeah, I mean, nobody cares. But when you talk about you're meant to protect the country from that menace and we'll stop him, yeah, I think it matters. I think it's pretty official.
No,
it sounds pretty
when
official.
you have a reality TV show host who has a propensity
So you
for
would do
not
the same.
telling the truth.
So what you're doing,
No, don't
you
tell
would do
me.
the same?
Don't tell me what I
I'll
would do.
go there. I'll do.
What I'm saying is, when any American is faced with the chance of a reality TV show host who's an extreme narcissist and has a propensity to not tell the truth, then yes, they're very horrified and
I
are
will tell
agreeing
you
that
this.
we need to stop
I
this from
think
happening.
I would tell
and
you this.
frankly, their conversation was correct because it's unfortunate that we did not stop it from happening because now we're stuck with this guy who says that Kim Jong-un loves his people.
Okay.
You know,
are you
this
done?
is.
Are you done? I'm waiting because I don't want to intrude. Okay? I'll let you finish your talking points. So, I promised myself before the show started, I'm going to listen to Peter and then, you know.
Apparently, your way of listening is to tell me that you're listening. No, but I'm responding to what you're saying.
Okay.
Do I think that these text messages between these two lovers is what led to the FBI investigation of Russian interference?
I think it did.
No,
If
it is
you ask
not.
me, I think it
They
did.
had credible
I think it did.
leads before that they
I
were
think it
already
did.
following.
I think it did.
You know.
Do you know the FISA issue? The FISA
And there's
court
no evidence that
Peter,
the
do you-
timeline,
No, I'm just
Michael,
asking
the
you.
timeline of these text messages is not corroborated by how the FBI got into
Okay,
investigating Russian
Can I
interference.
get 1 point? Can I get one nugget right there?
I'm responding to your multiple nuggets. I just
li-
can't let
you
them
know,
wash over me like
I'm
an
not
ocean
kidding when
wave.
I'm not kidding when I'm not. You know, I'm telling you that I'm listening because I got every single point. And when you said Donald Trump is not an honest person, to me, he's one of the most honest president I've ever seen. I just got to put it out there. He kept every single promise. I followed him pretty closely. I interviewed him back in 2012. I followed him pretty closely on almost every campaign rally. I followed every candidate at that time. And he's keeping his promises. He said he was going to deregulate. He deregulated. For every one new regulation, he got rid of 22, and he pulled out of the Paris Accord, which I agree on, and I know that you don't. And he pulled out of TPP, which will be job killing, and he pulled out of. He said he pulled out of there. He pulled out of the Iran deal. I agree with that.
Okay,
and
Michael.
but
no, let me just take that. You just said that you think Donald Trump is
think
one of
he
the
is.
most
Yeah, I
honest
do.
presidents.
I do.
And I will say that
I
it is
do.
my belief that he is literally the least honest and the most dishonest president. That is the difference between the two of us, by the way, and that's the essence of our conversation. But here's my question. If you really believe that he is the most honest
I would
president,
say this.
then let me
say this.
let me ask you. Let me ask you.
Other like stupid Twitter
Michael,
stuff.
you're saying
there
he's
might
the
be
most
some
honest
lies,
president.
but
What's going on?
The lying is unimportant. The lies that that the mainstream media is nitpicking. Those are not really important. It doesn't have anything to do with
This is the
policies,
president
okay?
of the United States.
But
He
Peter,
should never lie.
Peter,
Remember George Washington?
Did Obama lie or not? When he said about Obamacare,
we're talking about Trump.
Keep our doctors.
We're talking about Trump.
See,
we're not talking about William Henry Harrison or John Quincy Adams or James Monroe or Ulysses Grant. We're talking about Donald Trump.
Obama was a bigger liar.
And remember, the father of our country, George Washington, what's he famous for? I can't never tell a lie. I chopped that cherry tree down, can't tell a lie. The President of the United States is held to a higher standard than you or I. And I hold both of us to a high standard. So
Peter,
to say that some of his lies don't matter.
I would say campaign promises wise. I really think no. Why don't you ask?
Then let's talk about two what I think are egregious lies. Two lies that matter. Here's the thing. First of all,
aren't we talking about the IG report?
We are, but we're talking about your statement that he is the most honest president.
I would say so. Campaign promise wise. Okay.
Here we go.
I said campaign promise wise.
Here we go.
I put a premise there.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about campaign promise. What was number one? Let's talk about two campaign promises. First, he's going to drain the swamp.
I think he is doing that right now. This is the IG report is also the swamp.
Scott Pruitt head of the EPA, spending
What about
millions, flying first
Yeah,
class.
I think he's a little bit problematic. We
know,
got to go on.
that's the swamp.
Yeah, that is problematic.
And he has not fired him.
Because he's been
He has not
really
fired
good
him.
But because he has been good at least his job. Other than that, you know. But
No, what's the job? Environmental protection agencies to protect the environment, not to open the lands
Peter,
up for drilling by oil and gas interests.
I feel the green.
No, but that's the title of his job,
Many
Michael.
people were, you know,
He's
drumming up this issue but in expense of that, many people lost their jobs. Manufacturing jobs went away because we had to keep all these regulations here in the States when other countries like China and Mexico hasn't been abiding by those laws, right?
So you
that's
think
why he saw that.
You think that raising tariffs on China and creating a tariff war?
I agree with that.
You think that's going to create jobs here?
No, I think.
You want to talk to the soybean farmers
No, I
and how it's going to impact them?
Do you know that Canada has been charging 295% of tariffs on American dairy product? Did you know that?
Did you?
But mainstream media doesn't want to cover it. You know why? Because they're advertisers. They're all globalists. You know
Look,
that. The global
even
companies. You are anti-establishment. So you must know that.
Other thing is, remember his most famous campaign promise: we're going to build the wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it.
That he didn't keep yet. Yeah, I would say
and
that.
Mexico's going to pay for it. So how can you say he is the most honored president when
But
his
on
number
other issues,
one
why don't you
campaign
ask-
issue,
Okay,
number
Peter.
one, look, how many times did we have to listen to that nonsense? We're going to build a
think we should
wall,
have, like, a timer in
and
here.
Mexico's
You
going to
finish
pay
your
for
point.
it. It's a lie.
Are you done? Are you done?
It's a lie. It was a lie during the campaign, and it's a lie now.
his
and
term is
now
not
he's
over.
holding.
His term is not over. How
and
can
now-
you say a lie? It's a lie. It's the same. It's the same
now-
logic that you're saying.
It's
not
because it was never
confirmed.
going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Explain to
believe
me
that.
how Mexico's going to pay for that
But
wall.
let's go back to the IG report.
And now, because he's
because he
so
said he's going to
desperate,
charge on the visas and stuff.
now, has he done that?
That's how,
Has he done that?
I bet he's on the process. But right now we're talking about the IG report. I don't want to talk about the wall right now. Why do we have to talk about the wall? Why would we have to go from the IG report and all the way jump to the wall? You know, it's just these separate issues we can talk about, especially with you. We can talk about hours and hours. But I would tell you this. This is.
But you just can't say, Michael, that he is the most honest president.
You know,
It
Obama
just flies
lied.
in the
Obama
face of
said
everything else that we know. You know what
Obama
I mean?
lied.
Everything,
Obama lied.
his clear record of the last year and a half, he's told over 3,000 lies in just a year and a half.
No,
know.
Washington Post would always nitpick those, but he wouldn't nitpick. I mean, they would never nitpick one of their own, Barack Obama. I know that
and,
you like
and
him.
if you want to talk about what's underneath this IG report, let's talk about this. Russian collusion. He says there has been no collusion. And that the report,
Do you remember? Okay. Let me get
the
this.
president
let me get
states.
Let me get this out. Do you remember when Barack Obama did an interview 2 years ago with CBS? He said, I mean, the reporter asked him, when did you know about the Hillary Clinton private email server issue? When did you know that she was using this?
Michael,
and became
first
an
of
issue?
all,
And do you know what he said? At the same time when the American people knew from news outlet, but actually that wasn't true. IG report said that he lied flat out.
This is
he actually sent an email to her.
This is
personal
again
email account. So
what-
that's a lie. He lied all the time. You know, but people don't
Trumpistas do
but
all the
mainstream
time.
media don't want to mention it. This is not Trump saying it. IG report. Michael Horowitz said that. So IG report mentioned that. You didn't know that part, right? That is really surprising, right? Because
you always tell me what I know and don't know.
Because the mainstream media don't want to cover it, and I know that you want to get your news from the New York Times and Washington Post. I read that. Do you know if you go to the New York Times and Washington Post, this is not even on the top news.
I will tell you,
they don't want to cover this.
Any day, I believe anything I read in the Washington Post, which I subscribe to.
I know that you do.
Over anything that is said on Fox and Friends.
No. To me, I would believe Fox News over Washington Post.
Fox
Washington
and
Post
Friends.
really. But anyway,
Fox News is a propaganda machine.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yes,
it's
it is.
Not.
Which
Washington
is,
Post and New York Times is a propaganda machine. You want me to talk about the New York Times? If you look at all the columnists that they hired, you know, Maureen Dowd, I bet you know Maureen Dowd, or who's that guy? You know, Paul Krugman, all these political hacks. They're all pro-Democrats. They hired one conservative last year of May when I went to New York. Actually, I went to a business trip to the New York Times. Can you believe that?
What Democrats?
Hold on.
What Democrats do they have on Fox? Look, they have conservative commentators.
So let me finish my point. I let you finish your point. Right?
Are you saying that the New York Times and Washington Post don't have Jennifer Rubin on the Washington Post?
They're all Democrats, or anti-Trumpers at least.
See, this is
so they hired.
It's such an easy excuse.
New York Times hired a columnist, a conservative columnist named Bret Stephens, but he's an anti-Trumper as you can get. He hates Trump more than Democrats, so that's why they hired him. Okay. So let's not even talk about this mainstream media bias nonsense. I know what I'm talking about.
You just talked about it for the last 5 minutes,
okay,
and you're not letting me respond to this
can I
mainstream
let
media
you-
bias.
I had a dinner with a New York Times reporter last year of May. He told me off the record, I wouldn't name who he is. Yeah, they are all liberal. I mean, what do you say? They have to sell their papers in New York and stuff. So I understand it. I understand their point of view, but I do know that they're biased. So I have to look at other sides because I try to be as fair as possible.
Michael,
I supported Obama before.
This drives me nuts,
Bush.
and I gotta respond to this. Every reporter is a human being, and they have their own beliefs. They could be a Republican, they could be an independent, they could be a libertarian. They have what they think. They have their own political beliefs. It's the job of the reporter to put that aside and write the story based on the facts. So rather than attack people and say, "Oh, they're all Democratic hacks,"
you know what I'm thinking
no,
right
let me finish, Michael, because I'm responding to what you say.
Go ahead,
you stream all this stuff, and I have to respond because there's so much that I find incorrect there.
You and I just branch out to like 5, 6, 7 issues.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
I don't think anybody's having trouble following
go ahead.
everything we're talking about here.
I'm listening.
But every reporter has their own political belief. They could be, in their political belief, they could be Republican, Libertarian, Democrat, whatever. They have to put that aside and write articles based on the facts. So rather than dismiss people as Democratic hacks or this or that hacks or anti-Trumpers or whatever, you have to look at the article and say, where in this article
Peter,
is there something
can I
not
jump
based
in?
on
me,
facts?
As a journalist, I know what I'm talking about. When I mentioned Maureen Dowd and Paul Krugman, or Frank Thomas, these people, they're paid to have an opinion, and they say that. They say openly.
Yeah, they're not
liberals.
reporters.
They're not reporters. That's what I'm saying. But when you're a reporter, you have to try to get both sides of the aisle. But if you look at go to CNN.com right now. I'm talking to our viewers. If you go to CNN or if you go to the NYT or WAPO, they don't even mention about today's hearing because they don't want to hear this stuff. Because
Well,
it's
first
all
of all,
Trump and disadvantage
the
Hillary
hearing.
and Obama. So they don't want to hear about this.
Look, let me just say this, by the way, is that
Even if you go to Google and type Michael
it's so
Horowitz,
convenient to say that
they don't even
anybody.
want to mention this. And Peter,
It's not a Democrat-Republican thing here.
They're a
A
propaganda-
lot of Americans
they're a
are
propaganda
increasingly.
machine.
It's
NYT
not,
and WAPO.
Michael, let me just finish. It is not a Democrat-Republican thing because, as you say, anytime I bring up Republicans who are speaking out against actions by the president, you say, "Oh, they're part of this anti-Trump movement and everything." But
They say they are. They say they're an anti-Trumper, so that's why I go as what they're saying. They're anti-Trumpers.
Who's the most respected Republican senator? I would say it's John
McCain. I knew that you would say that. He gets no respect from Republicans. I would tell you that. Every single Republican that I know, they all hate him. They can't stand him. I'll tell you that.
So
he's a patriot because he fought for America. I would say he's a patriot, but I think he's a horrible politician.
Donald Trump, remember, during the campaign said he didn't respect John McCain because he didn't think John McCain was a hero. What he said was, I don't think John McCain's a hero.
They were getting into an argument, Peter. They were getting into an argument. Do you know why this whole thing happened? So Trump used to be a big donor for John McCain.
But I'm saying, do you agree with that statement?
When he had
that
rallies,
John McCain...
Of course I do not. Of course I do not. So when Trump was having these rallies and got 35,000 people going inside...
a prisoner of war,
hold on.
tortured, can't lift
Peter.
his arm higher than his shoulder because of the wounds from being a Vietnam prisoner of war. You have this guy running for president who says that this guy is not a hero. And meanwhile, Donald Trump got deferments because he says that he has bone spurs.
So you really get involved in these rhetorics. To me, I don't. I care more about policy.
No, I listen to what people say, and based on what they say.
He's a politically incorrect guy.
Not what others say about him.
Okay.
It's beyond political incorrectness.
Even when people were supporting him, in the beginning when he was running #1, I'm following what your logic. All the supporters said he's the least nicest guy, but they liked his policies, so that's why they voted him. You think people?
What policy?
You think people care about
what policy?
Deregulation, pulling out of TPP. All the things that you don't like.
No. What got him elected?
Deal.
Do you think that his supporters were caring about TPP and trade?
Yes.
Or
yes,
what it was
they. I do. Do you know? If you ask me, because I predicted Donald Trump would one day become United States president. I told my wife back in 2010 when he was doing interview with Greta Van Susteren all the time, and he came out. I said, "Oh man, if he runs," because I used to live in the middle of America, so I know what I'm talking about. If he runs, man, he's gonna win all middle America, because I know how the coastal people think, and I know how middle America thinks. And I said, if Donald Trump runs, he will one day become president.
I'll tell you what
That's why I did an interview back in 2012.
I'm not disagreeing with you. You know,
and you know why?
He spoke
trade deal. Because of the trade deal. It's not about the immigration. To me, he got all those.
No, you remember what he said? I'll tell you another thing he said on the campaign trail.
Who talked about manufacturing other than Trump and Bernie Sanders?
That's right. Well, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm pointing this out, though. What he told those factory workers, unemployed
trade deal?
Factory workers.
I don't know.
You brought it in. Well, what I'm saying is that what he told those voters was, we're going to make Obamacare better. Do you think that he has made Obamacare?
Who said that?
Trump did.
He said he wanted to get rid of Obamacare.
No, he said we're going to make it better.
Now, that's his rhetoric. You know, I know that.
You keep saying it's his rhetoric. This is what he said. I'm not talking about what other people said about him. These are his own words. Let me bring it back to something. Let me. You know,
Peter,
has he made it better?
Today?
No.
To get rid of.
I'm following your lead.
From the IG report and talk about trade deal, immigration, you know, all these other stuff.
I didn't say that the current president was dishonest. You said that he was the most honest president, and that's something that's discussed. Because look, what's going on right now is that they are based on this administration's policy. They are separating children as young as 2 years old from their parents, and they're being held in chain link cages away from their parents.
We can talk about that next time, okay?
And the people, but let me just say this, because this is what people really care about right now. This IG report.
That never happened just now. It even happened during the Obama administration, but the New York Times and Washington Post didn't even.
No, Michael. Okay, let me correct that. Let me correct that. First of all, what you're talking, you're conflating two separate things.
No, it's not.
What happened with the Obama administration? There were children arriving alone, and those children were kept secure alone. What's happening now is up to 2,000 children.
Media bias.
No. This is the facts, and this is, your talking point is incorrect. What you're talking about, the Obama policy, was children who were arriving alone, and they were then secured alone. What's happening now is children as young as 2 years old arriving with their parents, and the administration's policy is to separate them and have these kids as young as 2 who don't know what's going on, who don't know what's going on, who don't know what's going on. No, they did not. They did not have this policy.
If you look at that,
Obama did not. George W. Bush did not.
Absolutely, they did.
No,
absolutely,
Michael, they did not, and that is incorrect.
They're just covering the story because they don't want to cover. They don't want to cover the economy doing so well. They don't want to cover the IG report. They don't want to cover about the North Korea United States summit. They don't want to cover.
You want to do anything except talk about what is happening right now, which is they are separating children, which is separating children as young as 2 years old from their parents. Wait, let me just finish my thing, Michael, because you said you were listening, so listen to this, please.
I will.
Because this is really important. This is about who we are as people and as a country. You have parents who have nothing, fleeing gang violence, war violence, coming to this country.
Are they themselves gang? Do you think MS-13 not doing that? They're using kids as shields? You don't think that ever happens?
I can tell you with pretty much certainty that these kids, 2 years old, 6 years old, are not gang members. No. And a lot of their parents are not.
Some are.
But the fact is that they're separating these children. Separating these children.
Peter, MS-13, one too many.
They're separating these children. First of all, if you're going to talk MS-13, show me MS-13. At this point, they would be parading MS-13, saying, look who we caught. They are not. These are hardworking people who are coming here trying to better their life. And again, let me just finish here. Separating children as young as 2 years old from their parents, holding them in chain link fences. The kids don't know what's going on. All they want is their parent. This kind of trauma lasts with the child for their whole life.
Do you know who Kate Steinle
they will never forget this.
Do you know
and let me see, if you have heard, the recording of these kids crying,
they have been brutally
do you know,
by the,
let me just say this.
Immigrants.
And so then, while this is going on, this new edict under this administration and this president, the president continues to lie and say,
Peter,
it's the Democrats who are doing it. It's the Democrats' fault. And it's not. It's his administration's policy. Don't you agree with that?
Peter, are you done? Let's talk about this next time around. I got to talk about the IG report.
I just want to hear.
I got to talk about the IG report.
Don't you agree?
What? Don't you agree what?
That it is he has the power. The president has the power to cancel this policy.
Why didn't they ask this during the Obama administration?
You're deflecting. You're deflecting back.
Deflecting.
He's the current president.
Peter. We'll talk about this.
Let me just ask you though.
I'll give you an entire segment. Okay?
We're on it right now,
it.
and I bet everybody is just horrified about this. Don't you agree that the president should?
It's a media narrative. It's completely fabricated. Our viewers, I want to tell it, it's
then
completely fabricated. Then let me ask you, Michael,
do you support this policy?
Is fabricated. This issue is fabricated.
Do you support this policy?
I'll talk about it next time. I want to talk about the IG report.
Do you support this policy of separating children from their parents?
There needs to be immigration reform.
I didn't ask you if there needed to be immigration reform. I asked you if you support this policy of separating children from their parents.
I object this. Whenever the Democrat has a White House.
You're not answering the question, Michael.
I'm answering right now. You're asking me a question. You're not letting me.
It's a yes or no question.
No. So I'm telling you this. I would say the media should not fabricate news like this. That's my.
You think children are not being separated from their parents?
That's my take on it. I'll
wait. By that, do you mean that you think children are?
No, they would never cover these kind of news under Obama administration because they considered Obama like a god.
Of course they did. When children were arriving,
I know that you support Obama. You too, right?
When children,
so that I know where you're coming from, but
But you're not answering the question, Michael, and it's evident to everybody watching.
Can we go back to the IG report?
So
we got to finish up our show, okay?
You keep wanting to,
Peter,
get away from the simple question that we're asking. Peter, everybody wants to know.
I'm a host.
Really?
I have to talk. We'll talk about that.
Do you
Let's talk about
the IG policy of separating children from their parents?
Let's talk about the IG report.
Michael,
let's talk about the IG
I will
report.
if you answer this question.
No. We have to go back because I told you, Peter, we're going to talk about this subject next time around. Not now. We want to talk about the IG report, okay? We'll talk about this.
Michael,
I promise you. Okay?
Let me put it.
I don't like to see parents and kids to be separated, okay? Let's go back to this, okay? I don't like it. So let's go back to this.
I will submit to you that the major issue that most Americans are grappling with right now is not the IG report that
it is the
500 pages that nobody has read.
It is definitely the IG report. This is so damning.
It is yours.
Come on.
But I will submit to you that the major issue that so many Americans are grappling with right now is
defer to a different issue because you know that this issue
the current situation
is disadvantage for Obama because the Obama administration was so corrupt. Look at this.
Michael,
this all happened under Obama administration. I would say this. Obama was the most corrupt president in the United States history. It will be proven. I know that I'm right. He is one of the most corrupt president. I supported him. On one of the texts, Barack Obama wanted to know everything.
Okay, Michael, you're just going back to Obama. You want to go back to Obama? You want to George W. Bush? You want to go back to Jimmy Carter? You want to go back to Zachary Taylor? I mean, we're talking about the current administration and their policy. And what we're talking about is governmental, institutional child abuse.
I'm the host. And I get to pick the topic, but I'll let you pick topic next time. But right now, I picked the IG report as a topic. So you have to stick. You have to at least honor me that time, okay? Because I think I've made my position now. I brought you as a guest, to talk about the IG report, okay? I mean, that's our show. We have to stick to our topics. We can't just jump around. If I put the title up there as an IG report and talk about immigration, I'm deceiving my audience. So I want you to at least respect that, okay? And here. Grossly negligent. He changed this, the way that Hillary used her private email. James Comey said extremely careless, but it was originally written grossly negligent. Do you know who changed from grossly negligent to extremely careless? Peter Strzok. And do you know why? If you write down grossly negligent, you have to prosecute. Okay? But they changed the wording They changed the words to extremely careless. So I think this is what they meant, what Peter Strzok meant when he said, we'll stop it. Because if she gets charged, if Hillary gets charged, they know that Trump is going to become president, and they wanted to stop that. I want to give you the last word regarding this.
Do I get to respond without being interrupted?
Last word,
Okay. Here are the facts. A short time before the election, James Comey held a press conference and said he was reopening the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email situation. Caused a furor. I think was a factor in her losing the election because it just brought it all back, Part of that was because they had found emails on her assistant, Huma Abedin. But then they announced a few days before the election, we're closing the election, there was nothing there. That, to me, demonstrates that nobody was trying to help this or that candidate. They were making a very difficult decision, and James Comey's decision was, gosh, I can either state that we are reopening it, or I cannot state it, And if he didn't announce that they were reopening an investigation to Hillary Clinton's email situation, and then she got elected, which she might very well have been elected, then when she was president, his concern was people would say, oh, you didn't say that you were investigating her, and that was information voters should have had. So he had a difficult decision. One was going to sway the election one way or the other. What he chose to do was announce that they were reopening the investigation. That hurt her campaign, was a big factor, I think, in her losing the campaign, and to me demonstrates that the FBI was being fair. Some Democrats would say it was unfair to Hillary Clinton. But that, to me, shows that whatever you're trying to dig up about these two FBI lovebirds, the fact is that the FBI was operating under James Comey under difficult situations with the political clouds over it to do what was right. And that just shows me and anyone who sees it that they were not biased,
Okay.
you know.
Are you done with? Okay.
You know what I'm saying now?
No, it was biased. Do you know why? Because September 26th, they reopened it. They found more emails from Anthony Weiner. You know who Anthony Weiner is. They found out more Hillary emails there. So they reopened it in September 26th.
And announced that they were.
But they sat on it. Do you know why they sat on it? Because they were. If you read the IG report, it said they were too focused on the Russia collusion thing, that they wasted time there. So James Comey found this out and then said, he didn't want to.
The FBI is able to do two investigations, you know. They do multiple investigations.
Peter Strzok was the lead investigator for both cases. So that's why it took them so much time. So Peter Strzok.
No, but in terms of your charges of bias against Trump, clearly announcing it.
No, what I'm saying is
so close to the election.
You got to hear me out. So James Comey said this during an interview with George Stephanopoulos. He said he wanted to reopen the case because he knew that Hillary would win the election, and he didn't want to delegitimize Hillary Clinton. He wanted to legitimize. So they wanted to help her. They thought that she had it already in the bag, but they didn't want to reopen the case after the election was over. Then it looked like the whole system was rigged. So their intent wasn't to help Trump. It was to legitimize Hillary Clinton. So I wanted you to know that. So their intent was always pro-Hillary and against Donald Trump.
No, announcing shortly before the election that you have opened up an FBI investigation.
Then why didn't he announce it in September?
Well, first of all, no.
Yeah, that's his fault.
Michael, first of all, come on now. If you find out something in September, you've got to investigate to make sure you have some facts before you make an announcement. And the FBI is perfectly capable of handling a Russian collusion investigation.
Seems like they weren't.
And
Seems like it,
the FBI,
because the
you think the FBI is only doing like one investigation? They're doing multiple, dozens.
Seems like they did. Do you know why? Because the lead investigator for both cases
I'm just saying, pointing out the hole in your argument there.
We got to close down our show. We can continue on like hours and hours if we keep on talking about this. So actually, we were supposed to talk about also the United States-North Korea summit, but do you any words regarding that?
Just to say that I disagree with the president. I don't think that Kim Jong-un loves his people. And I think that to meet with the North Korean dictator, and not talk about human rights abuses and the hundreds of thousands of our cousins who are locked up in slave labor camps is a gross, gross crime against humanity and a bad step by this president.
Okay, well, that's our show for today.
Also, we got nothing out of the summit. The end.
I thought we got a lot. We got everything. So, okay, well, that's our show for today. Our show is not about left or right. It's about being right or wrong. To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking subscribe. Thanks for tuning in.